All right, everybody. If you are here today, go ahead and type in the comments, type in the chat. I'm here. My name is Nathan, and this is another episode of Mind Renovation Nation, where we talk all things small multifamily. And today we are going to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about the wealth ladder, and there's a number of different things packed into this show, the wealth ladder. We're going to be talking, though, specifically about real estate as a pathway to financial freedom and exploring how real estate investing can lead to wealth creation with the completion of real life success stories and strategies. So, today we are talking about the wealth ladder. The wealth ladder. What do you know about wealth? What do you know about wealth? How much time have you put into researching wealth, reading books on wealth, building wealth, understanding wealth? My goal today isn't to share with you from a man's perspective who's extremely wealthy. That's not the goal at all today. The goal today is to talk about the ladder I'm climbing, the ladder you're climbing, the ladder we're on together. And so I would like to start off today talking about this concept of the wealth ladder. How many of you know anything about wealth? How many? If you know anything about wealth, go ahead and type it in the chat comments. What do you know about wealth? What do you know about mindset, around building money, around prosperity? What are some of the concepts and things and ideas that you've heard? If you've heard anything about wealth, go ahead and type that in the chat right now. Say, I learned this about wealth, or I learned that about wealth, and let's talk about it, because I think we got to get this concept of wealth understood if we're ever going to be successful in real estate investing. And so let's just talk about wealth for a little bit. The first thing I'd like to just bring to your attention, of course, if we're talking about wealth, I'm going to reference Star Wars, right? Like, who wouldn't reference Star Wars in talking about wealth? So Yoda has a famous line. He says, "Do or do not, there is no try. There is no try." And so, in this concept, when we're talking about wealth and we're teaching about wealth and we're having a conversation about wealth, Yoda says, "Do or do not, there is no try." So if we're going to be wealthy and we're going to have any level of success in the wealth area of our life, I think it's important to understand it from the Star Wars perspective. There is no try. You're either working on it or you're not. And so you're either on the ladder or you're not. You either know where you're at on the ladder or you don't. And these things are important concepts whenever it comes to wealth creation. See, the cool thing about the United States of America is that you can start off at minimum wage, whatever minimum wage is now, $9, $12 an hour, whatever it is. And then you can say to yourself, is it possible to double my income? In fact, that's what we'll pull up here on the slides. Is it possible to double my income? Is it possible to double my savings? Is it possible to double your investments from where you're at right now? Well, I know what you're thinking too. 2 times 0 is still 0. So if you don't have any investments yet, that's okay. Because I said double your savings, double your income, and then double your investments. The cool thing about the United States of America is that you start off on this ladder. In this ladder, I asked you the question, is it possible to double your income? Can you go from, let's say, $12 an hour, let's just round down, from $10 an hour to $20 an hour in the United States? Is this possible? Well, I think that if you ask yourself that question from a generic perspective, you could say yes. It's easy to go from minimum wage to $20 an hour. How do you go from minimum wage, $10 to $20 an hour? Well, you could wait for them to simply raise minimum wage. The challenge with waiting for them to raise minimum wage is that it relies on the government. It relies on somebody else to have an external factor to influence your life to move your income from $10 to $20 an hour. You can say, well, what's another way I could go, Nathan? What's another way I could go from $10 an hour to $20 an hour, increasing yet my income? Maybe you could get some additional education. You could, go to school or college, and I once heard that if you whistle while you take out the trash at McDonald's, they'll pay you $20 an hour. Like, this isn't a hard concept to go from $10 to $20 an hour in the United States. Then now it starts to get challenging when you think, okay, well, I got to go from $20 an hour to $40 an hour. And so this concept of doubling your income becomes a little bit more challenging, and we have to be in the right thought process and right mind space. How do you go from $20 to $40 an hour? Well, that might require some specialization. Maybe you need to get a licensing in something. Maybe you need to pick up some new skills in order to go from $20 to $40 an hour. But this concept of doubling your income it shouldn't be too foreign to you, unless I say double your income from $40 an hour to $80 an hour. Now, some of you that are out there are already making $80 an hour, and that's totally okay, and it's totally understandable. I just want to get your mindset today around these concepts. The concept of doubling your savings, doubling your income, and doubling your investments. And what I want to talk to you today from is some practical, real life, real world application, because I have done some of these things in my life and my career, and you probably have too. But what we'd like to do today is to put a framework around this, put a framework around doubling your savings, doubling your investments, doubling your income. Is this stuff all possible? Of course it is. Of course it is. And so we want to talk about this today. We want to talk about this ladder. Each ladder of the rung is a doubling. It's a doubling. It's where you're at to the next rung, where you're at to the next rung, where you're at to the next rung. This doubling of your savings, doubling of your income, doubling of your investments. Yes, this is possible. Okay. I get it. I get it. This isn't realistic for you to double your savings, to double your income, to double your investments. And so I understand. And I'm going to tell you right now that you need to gain some small victories if this concept is challenging for you. You need to gain some small momentum. It's possible to double these things. It's possible to grow in your financial understanding and to achieve certain levels of success. I mean, just think to like Howard Schultz, from the CEO of Starbucks. He grew up in a poor housing project in Brooklyn, New York, and he went on to build Starbucks into a global brand. Look, the story shows that it doesn't matter where you start in life, it matters where you finish. And so when we're talking about this concept of the wealth ladder, it's just good to know that you're on a rung, that you're in the game, that you're focused on achieving the next rung and the next ladder. And these things are okay. It's okay to grow one step at a time. All right, well, I know what you might be thinking too. You might be thinking, well, Nathan, that all sounds great and all, but I don't know how. And I'd like to challenge you for a second. I'd like for you to maybe take a second and suspend that thought. I'd like for you to just sit with me for a while. Just listen, just pay attention. I know you don't know how. And so not knowing how is not a reason to not want to achieve the doubling of your savings, your income, and your investments. I know sometimes it doesn't sit all that well. I don't know how, so therefore I don't get started. Let me explain it to you like this. I heard a wise mentor of mine once explain this to me, and maybe this will be helpful for you. Take some time to explain this. I want you to take a second. Look, this isn't going to do any well if you don't actually do the exercise with me. So do the exercise. If you're watching on replay, Mind Renovation Nation, do the exercise right now. I want you to close your eyes. Just listen to my words and think of your refrigerator. Now, of course, you can see your refrigerator in your mind. You know what it looks like. You know the shape of your refrigerator. You know if it's a side-by-side. You know if it's got a drawer on the bottom. You know this about your refrigerator. You know it. You know what color it is. Okay, now pause for a second. You know what your refrigerator looks like, and you're comfortable with what your refrigerator looks like because these are neural pathways that have already been formed inside of your brain. Now, what I want you to do with your eyes still closed, I want you to think about my refrigerator. unless you've been over to my house or you've been with my family and been over and seen my refrigerator before, this might be a bit difficult for you. I mean, you can envision concepts of what refrigerators might look like, but you don't know what my refrigerator looks like. And so I would challenge you this thought. When I brought up the concept of thinking about your refrigerator, your mind was open and creative to understanding what your refrigerator looks like. But your mind wasn't open. It locked up the minute I asked you to think about my refrigerator. Why? Because you've never seen it before. And so building wealth inside your life, doubling your income, doubling your savings, and doubling your investments, this is not about knowing how to do something. This is about knowing that it's possible. We have to get our minds opened and around the concept and the belief and the understanding that these things are possible to happen in our lives. And so if your mind isn't open to these things, if you're not open on how to do some of these things, that it's possible, you'll never put yourself in the position to be able to understand it. All right. I'm going to continue on and help you kind of understand this concept from a couple of different perspectives and angles, because this is something that has served me well in my life. I have constantly focused on this process of doubling my income. And when I first started off, yeah, I started off on that income ladder around $12 an hour and doubled and doubled and doubled and continue to double my income as often as I can. And so I want you to be able to achieve the same levels of success that I have, but in order to achieve some of that success, and in order for you and me to continue to achieve together, for me to achieve greater levels of success, some of you are already more successful than I am, and so this talk is a refresher of some of the things that you've already done and learned. Okay, so Warren Buffett is often cited for his effective investment strategies, like long-term investing and value investing. He's often cited for these things. However, you don't need complicated strategies to invest wisely. Sometimes you just need a consistent approach that yields you the best results. Just like Warren Buffett, he's got a simple strategy. Your wealth building concepts should be simple, number one. Number two, if it's difficult for you to envision things that you don't have or know yet, is it possible for you to get a vision of what it could look like or feel like to double your savings, to double your investments, to double your income? Is it possible to think in the future what this might feel like in order for you to achieve those things? What would your donations look like to charity? If you go to church, what would your tithe look like if you doubled your income, doubled your savings, doubled your investments? What would your financial income look like? What would you spend your money on? Would you be driving the same car? Would you be living in the same house? See, in order to double, you got to know what it looks like in order to make that happen. We've got to reestablish these neural pathways in the brain to have a new sense of feeling, a new understanding, a better outcome that you're trying to achieve. So you don't know how, but you can begin to know what. And as you take each step along the way of doubling, it's crazy how the path unreveals right in front of your eyes. Look, when you realize the financial rules you've been following are outdated, will you be open to creating new ones? Maybe some of the things that you've been taught about money in the past just aren't accurate. They're just not real. The concept of money doesn't grow on trees. Who told you that? Where did you get that information from? How about this one? A penny saved is a, yeah, penny earned, right? Where did you get that concept of money from? Who told you that? Is the lessons that you've learned about money and the things that you've learned in your past, are those things now anchors that are holding you down from achieving the financial goals that you have for yourself, the financial dreams that you have for yourself? Or have you even taken the time to sit down and dream out the financials that you'd like to have in the future? Let's talk about this concept of the ladder. Let's talk about this concept of the ladder. I'd like to start with the top of the ladder. So many people start where you're currently at, but they don't help you paint the picture of what the future could look like for you whenever they're talking about this financial ladder and doubling. And so let me show you what the top of the ladder looks like. It looks like investing in others. It's a mission, it's a focus, it's a goal, a dream bigger than you are today, something you can't accomplish on your own. This financial future for you, small multifamily investor, has to be the nation that you're building. And as you build that nation, this is where you're sharing, and it requires capital. You're sharing with others, and it requires capital. Now, I've not achieved the top of this ladder yet today, but I do know what it looks like. The top of the ladder looks like your ability to give back to the world because of the things that you've been able to do, achieve, and accomplish. It's your ability to add value to others. It's your ability to share the resources that are above the line of which you need. That's why I have the line there. They're above the line of your needs, wants, and desires. They're there to help other people. Now, below your own independent, below that big vision goal, that mission, that driven, the values that you have, above, below that now, where we're talking about, places that affect you and impact you. Maybe you're not to the top rung yet, and maybe you're striving for this rung. It's called sustainability. Sustainability is this rung here on the ladder. And in sustainability, you're investing for cash flow and investments. So while the top of the ladder, you're investing for others and building in others and investing in others, there's a time before that where we have to invest for cash flow. We have to invest for sustainability. I know in Star Wars, those references in a galaxy far, far away. Maybe this is you right now and you're thinking, man, that sustainability aspect, investing for cash flow so that I can pay all of my expenses from the passive income that I'm receiving. Maybe that's a galaxy that's far, far away and it's too distant for you on your wealth journey right now. And you're like, hey, I'm here and now. How do I get there? Well, getting there starts with knowing what it looks like before you can ascend into these different higher rungs on the wealth ladder. Now, so investing for cash flow and investments, this produces passive income for you so that your expenses can be taken care of so you can focus on that mission. The question is if you're not quite to the cash flow yet in investments, maybe you're a little bit further down on the ladder. And so, look, I know that investing can be scary. And so the the Star Wars reference here is fear is the path to the dark side. Fear is the path to the dark side. Getting to sustainability requires an action step. And in order to take action, you have got to have the proper protection in place against default, against things going the wrong way. Look, I've spent my entire career in corporate America prior to going out on my entrepreneurial endeavors in my own ventures, in my own real estate investing. Look, I spent my entire corporate careers helping other organizations reduce risk, taking action, being a man of action that puts protection in place. I'm going to show you in just a second a way that you can take action with your finances, but it requires a level of motivation to take that action. Look, if you don't take any action, you'll never get to sustainability. And so maybe you just need to take more action right now. But if you're not even thinking about taking action in your finances and you're kind of just watching these shows passively, clicking through the shows and not doing anything about your finances right now, it may be this last thing where you need to work on to get on the financial ladder that I'm talking about. And that is your mindset. And in your mindset, this is an understanding of how you're investing in your expenses and the budget. Look, to get to where you want to go, you got to know where you're at right now. And to get your mindset correct, you can have pie in the sky ideas, or you can have definitive ideas of where you're currently at and how your finances are currently working and what your goals might look like and what the gap looks like for you. If this is you, if you're kind of in that financial journey right now and you're stuck, not knowing what the right mindset is to have, I don't need to teach you all about how to have a good mindset. I need to teach you how to know and identify where you're currently at to start the very first step in taking action. And the very first step in taking action is this. It's called your family budget. Your family budget. I have a family budget and worksheet on my website. If you go to nathanbushmba.com/store-1, that's nathanbushmba.com/store-1, there is on there a family budget. That family budget is a family budget and gap analysis. Let me share that with you now. All right. So on your family budget, if you can see my screen, I'm going to pull myself off of the screen and make this as big as possible for you guys. On my screen, you can see right now, is the family budget. The family budget. Now, I've removed my numbers because this is very equivalent to the one I have on my website. You go to my website, you can order a family budget. I can send this to you in spreadsheet form or PDF form, and you create your family budget. On this family budget, I'm going to start right here with take-home income. Take-home income. And in this take-home income, this is your pay dates that you're paid on. And if you're paid sporadically, you might need to do this monthly. You might need to budget this out monthly. But for right now, for all intents and purposes, we'll just consider this to be that you're paid every couple of weeks. And so this is your combined household income right here across the top. You're going to list that out. If it's 3,500, you write 3,500. If it's 5,500, you write 5,500 in there. And that significantly helps you to have a better understanding of how much income you have coming in each and every month. If you don't know that, that's step number one. How much income do you bring home? So many times I try to help people with their finances. They ask me about it. I've had a lot of people ask me about it. Hi, Kyle. I see Kyle online here, and I just want to give you a shout out. I appreciate you spending some time here. I hope this family budget concept helps you out because I'm about to share some stuff that may be a little bit higher level from a mindset standpoint and to get these things in the proper place. I might go a little bit longer today, guys, too, than normal because I want you to understand this concept of the family budget. All right. So in this family budget, we got the income across the top here. Then we're going to list out all of our expenses and when we're going to pay those specific bills. All right, so we've got our home bill, we've got our car bill, our water bill, gas bill, maybe you have charter, insurance, maybe you have some assessments, phone bill, electrical bill, maybe you have a gym, supplemental health program. I don't know, whatever it is, those are the expenses that you list out, but these are the reoccurring expenses. The only thing I list on here are the bills that I know that are reoccurring, my debt payments and my bills that are reoccurring. That's what goes on right here. On the left-hand side, you'll see these X's and O's. O means that the money has cleared the account. So the payment has cleared that you put in here, The payment is cleared. O means that you've paid it, but it hasn't cleared yet. See, when I was really broke and I had to figure out how to pay my bills, I had this because I was on commission at the time. I had this whole concept of whack-a-bill. I had to figure out how to earn the money to pay it off and earn the money to pay it off. And this concept of this budget helped me to ensure that I didn't lose my house and my cars when I went through some of the hardest financial times back in the day. The financial times for me were so bad. They were so bad that I had had the water shut off at my house. And I was washing my hands with hand sanitizer till I could get the water turned back on. Today, that's not the case. Today, I have a beautiful house with a pool in Lake St. Louis, Missouri. It's a wonderful place and an amazing, amazing home. And it's a dream home that I never even expected in my lifetime when I first started out on this journey I could ever achieve. But it started with this budget. I needed to know what my expenses were and my income. Now, down here at the bottom, you have your total fixed expenses. So let's say my home's $100 and let's say my car's $200 and the rest of the expenses will play out. Okay, so here's your total fixed expenses. That means that your cash flow from the money that you make is about $5,200. The rest of the money that you have hasn't been accounted for yet. This is the difference. This is the magic of this budget. I give myself every 2 weeks a to live off of budget. That means that this is the amount of money, whether I go out to eat, whether I'm going to buy a book or a CD, whether I'm going to put gas in my gas tank. These are not reoccurring expenses in this budget. This is my to live off of money. Can I buy that present this week? Can I go on that vacation or that trip? Can I afford to do some of the things that I want to do? I don't know. What's the to live off of budget? The to live off of budget is imperative. And so let's say that to live off of budget is $1,500 each and every 2 weeks. That leaves me with my total savings amount. What do I do with this total savings amount? Well, the way that it works is the money comes into the account, then it immediately 100% of it gets transferred into my savings account. Money comes in, 100% gets transferred to my savings account. I know how much money I need to transfer into bills, into to live off of, to that checking account, based upon the fixed expenses and total month to live off of. That means that what I know is going to be in my savings account is $3,700 if my take home's $5,500 under these bills and expenses. Fill out your own bills and expenses when you go on to www.nathanbushmba.com/store-1, and you will be able to get this budget for yourself. Okay? So that tells me I have $3,700 in my savings account. Then I go over here on the far right-hand side of this budget. On the far right-hand side of this budget, I have a goal and a current. Where are we at in our savings and what's the goal? On this budget, I have an established emergency fund to make sure I can cover 6 months worth of my expenses before I start investing in anything. All right, so how does this work? Each time I move the thermometer based upon how much money's in my savings account. I need the visual representation. You need the visual representation of where your money's at. Don't shortchange the process of the thermometer. It helps with goal setting. Think about nonprofits who raise money. I got an undergraduate degree from Lindenwood University in nonprofit management. Nonprofits, when they raise money, maybe it's the PTO or the local Red Cross, or maybe it's a fraternal or sorority organization that you have been a part of. When they go to raise money, do they not put it on a visual scoreboard on a thermometer so that you can see how much money's been raised or collected or earned so far? This goal is extremely important to doubling your savings. Look, you can double your savings multiple times, guys. Continue to go up and up and up in your savings goals. So let's say your savings goal is to save or to get to $1 million in cash. If that's the case, where are you currently at? And this will tell you how much you have left over. And so that's what we're doing from a budget standpoint. We have our income, we have our fixed expenses, and then our to live off of budget. And that tells me the remainder of that goes into my savings account. Do you guys do this? I know you might budget, but do you budget this way? I don't know, good question. Now, some other parts of my financial plan that I have to pull together and I have to have a good understanding of. I need to have a good understanding of protection. Remember, protection allows me to take action. So many times you feel handicapped by taking risks because you're afraid something's going to happen. When I have my savings account correct, and when I have the proper protection in places, it allows me to move forward in boldness. It allows me to take action. It allows me to take the next step in investing. But I can't do any of these things unless I have the protection piece in place. So first, learn to maximize your income. Second, learn to deal with the expenses that are in front of you. How do I get these fixed expenses taken care of? How do I deal with this to live off of budget concept so that I can have the remainder go to savings? All right, then how do I get the proper protection pieces in place to ensure that my life is buttoned up in case something happens? At least we know we need these protection pieces in place. All right, the next piece of this budget I'd like to call your attention to is this section right here called balance of liabilities. What I want you to do is to list out all of your debt, the name of the company that you owe, the total debt, the minimum payment, the actual payment that you're making on that, and the interest rate. And I want to make sure that you're paying off the highest interest rate stuff first. It's critical that you understand how debt works so that you can understand how return works. And not in every situation, you'll hear me say this, not every situation is an imperative that you pay off debt. If you can earn more money with the money that you're making off of interest than the interest it's costing you on debt, unless that debt is hamstringing you, might it be wise to not pay that debt off in full and use other people's money to grow your wealth? I talked about it in another video. We talked about spenders, savers, and wealth creators. Well, if you're going to create wealth, you have to understand this financial plan and how it has an impact on your finances. So you list out all of your liabilities and you have a good understanding of how much money's owed, what the interest rates are, what your minimum payments are, and what your actual payments are. Do you know how many people in the world will take the actual time to sit down and do this entire budgeting process and financial budgeting so that they can double their income and double their savings and double their investments? All right. Then what are we going to do? If we do get to the point where we start buying investments, we need to make sure that we have those documented as well. I need to know the name of the company I invested in, the number of shares I paid if I'm buying stocks, the price I paid per share and the daily price that I'm running, and the dividends that I receive off of that. That helps me manage my financial plan. If I own real estate, I need to know the address, the current value, the cash I put down, the price I paid, and the monthly income that I receive off of that. Where do you think that these incomes and dividends and monthly income from businesses go? That's right back into your income bucket. So you have to learn how to utilize finances to work for you versus working so hard at your finances. And it starts with organization and understanding. And I work with a lot of people around this family budget concept of understanding the to live off of budget. Lots of people have been able to take action on this exact budget and create a financial plan for themselves that helps them double their income, double their savings, and double their investments. All right. So I hope that was helpful for you. Now, maybe you're thinking, I don't have the time. I get it. Maybe you don't have the time. Maybe you don't have the time to sit down and do all of this budgeting process. I, I, I totally understand. I don't have the time either. In fact, other than not having the time, is there any other reason why you wouldn't take action on this budgeting process? If it was only time is the issue and you had the time, would you take action and do it? Then I have to ask you again, is it may be worth setting aside, doing it right now. Make time to get the budget defined so you can set the goals and set the attention so that you know what it's going to look like, and maybe start the process of the gap analysis that's also included with this scorecard to help you achieve where you want to achieve financially in your life. What if the most powerful financial strategy wasn't about numbers, but about shifting your mindset about how you deal with money? Maybe it's just the organization of this stuff that allows it to double once, twice, or three, four times, 5, 10 times in your life. Look, I know there's a whole segment of you that are a little bit scared that maybe this will be lonely and that you'll lose your friends because you actually start to do well. And that's okay too. Not everybody that's with you today needs to be with you 10, 20 years from now, especially if they're doing the wrong things and unwilling to change. I have a philosophy in my life that I live by, and that philosophy is do the right thing. How difficult is that? Well, it can be pretty difficult if you don't know what to do. And so that's why I provide the worksheet for you, so you know what to do to organize your finances, so you can begin to put them in the right position to double and double again and climb the financial ladder to where you can be on that mission helping other people. Now, some of you might be thinking this: the pursuit of wealth leads to compromise my values. And for that, I would have to say, I can totally see how you feel that way. Because there is this divide, this this challenge in spirituality between abundance and piety. And like, look, I want you to be successful, but I also want you to focus on the right things. Here's one thing I do know. If you're a spiritual person, and if you're not a spiritual person, I mean, and this part isn't that important to you, just give me 1 second to talk to those who are spiritual and hang in there for me till the end. If you're spiritual, remember God led the Israelites out of Egypt, out of oppression, into freedom, but he led them with a promise, and he led them to the promised land. What was the promise for the Israelites that God kept them focused on? Land, real estate, an inheritance for their children's children. And how did he get them there? By helping them cross out of oppression into freedom, and from freedom into their promise eventually. Now, look, I understand I'm just a boy who's a sinner from Cottleville, Missouri. And I've worked real hard my entire life to clean up every aspect in every area that I can. In some cases, I've fallen short, but along that process, the promises that God has made for me and what I've read and understood from the Bible has helped me to understand how important it is to get my finances right and to help you understand about your finances. And so, to all of you, what if the most powerful financial strategy wasn't about the numbers, but was about shifting this mindset about money? I say it again. What if the most powerful financial strategy wasn't about numbers, but about shifting your mindset about money? Anytime I work with real estate investors, they come to me and I ask them this question all the time. Have you watched my videos, my live cast on the YouTube channel? No? Well, maybe that's just maybe about getting your mindset right prior to investing in real estate so that you can invest with the right mindset on the things that you'd like to achieve. Number 2, have you read my books? Look, I've got some books online. I wrote a book called Leadership Coaching as a Strategy for Employee Development. These books help you to get your mind right about different aspects in real estate. Read the books. Go get them. It's not a sales pitch. You know how much money I make off of a book sale? not enough to feed my family off the one book you purchased, okay? I'm just telling you that maybe there's some information in those books that will help you out to help you achieve the goals and see things from the different perspective, just like you did today. I don't have to sit side by side with you and teach you all of these different things that I've learned over my life. You can pick them up from the resources that I've created. Just like the family budget. Have you created your family budget? If not, go to the website, get the family budget. It's like $1 something on the website, guys. It's not that expensive. All right. How many properties do you currently want or do you currently own? You got to know this information before talking to me. So many investors they come to me and they say, Nathan, I want you to help me with all this stuff. And they don't even know how many properties they want. There's no goal in place. There's no plan in place. It's just I want to be rich. Okay, well, that's cool, but it's not wealth creation, guys. And so I want to make sure that you're on the right path and the right plan. And then lastly, where are these properties located? Okay. So if you're going to come to me, I need to know two things. I need to know that goal that we were talking about, and I need to know what your growth plan is. I need to know what your growth plan is. I have people that I've worked with over a period of time, and they have no growth plan. What's a growth plan? Well, if you don't know, I highly encourage you to join my Disciples of Leadership online. If you don't know how to do that, reach out to me, share in the comments. I'll be happy to come alongside of you and help you get into the group Disciples of Leadership. We are working through John Maxwell's 15 invaluable laws of growth right now. And if you don't have a growth plan in place, it's going to be real difficult to grow your real estate portfolio. All right. So I've talked a lot. Kyle, I see you online. You said you never heard the stuff about the Israelites before, tied to real estate, and I hope that was helpful for you. I want you to consider this. Who do you know that needs to hear this message, this specific information? There's a couple of ways to get it to them. Number one, I can speak. I can come to your organization group and we can talk about these things. I can talk about budgeting and mindset and all those things. The second thing is, you could share this online. If you're on Facebook, you could share it right now, tag somebody in it, somebody that needs to see this information. And then lastly, you could subscribe to my YouTube channel and help others subscribe to my YouTube channel so that they can get this type of information when it pops up on a regular basis. So those are three ways to get this information into the hands of those that need this information. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for joining my live cast today, Mind Renovation Nation. I know I've gone a little long today, but this concept of finances and getting things right is extremely important to me. And I know I breezed through the concept of that spreadsheet. If you need some help with the spreadsheet, feel free. If you've bought it, reach out online. I'll be happy to walk you through it. I'll spend as much time as you need. Yeah, that's just been said, free coaching for you. If you need time walking through that family budget and how to use it, if you've bought it, I'll sit down and give that information to you. We'll go through it for about an hour. All right, guys, thanks for taking the time on Mind Renovation Nation. Pay attention to my Friday live cast, guys. I do this just about every Friday. I've got a couple of great episodes coming up and that are planned for you. So please stay tuned to the future Mind Renovation Nation. And it's been great talking with you guys. Have a good afternoon. Bye.